5 terrifying true stories from the middle of nowhere. Story 1. The Vanishing Lake. Picture this: you're a seasoned hunter, tracking deer through unfamiliar woods. The day's unseasonably warm, and you're getting thirsty. Then, like a mirage, you spot a lake you've never seen before. Sounds like a stroke of luck, right? Well, hold that thought. Our hunter approaches the water, ready to cool off. But as he dips his bandana in, something's off. There's a funky smell, and when he looks closer, he sees why. The lake is full of dead animals. We're talking deer, elk, maybe even a few critters he can't identify, all just floating there, no visible injuries. It's like nature's own twisted version of a pool party. Freaked out but curious, our hunter takes a sample of the water. He's got a buddy who's a hotshot professor at the local university. Surely he can shed some light on this aquatic house of horrors, right? Wrong. When the hunter gives his friend the sample and describes what he saw, things get weird. The professor clams up, gets all nervous, and basically tells him to forget about the whole thing. Now, if that doesn't scream cover up, I don't know what does. Fast forward a few years, and our hunter returns to the spot. But guess what? The lake's gone. Vanished. Like it never existed. Now I don't know about you, but that's some X-Files level weirdness right there. This story leaves us with more questions than answers. What was in that water? Who wanted it gone? And why? Sometimes, the mysteries we can't solve are the ones that haunt us the most. Story 2. The Hitchhiker's Nightmare. Our next tale is a classic. Don't talk to strangers story with a terrifying twist. Picture an 18-year-old kid, fresh out of high school, inspired by Jack Kerouac's On the Road. He's hitchhiking across the country, living the dream. Until one night in Missouri, when that dream becomes a nightmare. Our young traveler gets picked up by a guy in an old pickup truck. At first, it seems like your typical ride. The driver even plays that classic drive away as the hitchhiker approaches. Joke. Annoying, but harmless, right? Wrong. Things take a dark turn real fast. The driver suddenly speeds off for real, leaving our narrator in the dust. Annoyed and not thinking straight, the kid flips him off. Big mistake. The truck comes screeching back, and before he knows it, our traveler is running for his life. What follows is a heart-pounding chase across fields and fences. Our narrator is dodging and weaving, with this man in a truck hot on his heels. The driver even plows through a fence like it's made of toothpicks. Talk about dedication to road rage. Finally, our hitchhiker makes it to some woods and manages to hide. He spends the night there, heart racing, as the truck's spotlight sweeps by again and again. When dawn breaks, he emerges, shaken but alive. This story is a stark reminder that not everyone out there has good intentions. Sometimes, a simple gesture can trigger something much darker. It's enough to make you appreciate the safety of your own backyard, isn't it? Story 3. The Mistaken Kidnapping. Imagine you're a young legal assistant, fresh out of college, working late one summer night. You're heading to your car, thinking about dinner, when suddenly bam! A van screeches up, 2 masked men jump out, and before you know it, you're zip-tied and tossed in the back like a sack of potatoes. Talk about a bad day at the office. Our narrator, thinking she's about to become the victim of some horrible crime, starts pleading for her life. But instead of the worst happening, she gets drugged and dumped in the desert? Yeah, you heard that right. She wakes up, untied, unharmed, just seriously confused. Turns out, she was grabbed by mistake. The real target? The daughter of a Mexican official who worked across town. A simple mix-up of north and south ends of a street nearly cost our narrator her life. Talk about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. This experience left some deep scars. Our narrator found herself breaking down at work, struggling with PTSD. It just goes to show, trauma doesn't always look like we expect it to. Sometimes, it's the fear and uncertainty that really mess with your head. Story 4. The Confession. Our next story is a brutal confession that'll make your skin crawl. It's a tale of how drugs and alcohol can turn someone into a monster they never thought they could be. Our narrator, looking back on his college days, recounts a night of partying gone horribly wrong. Fueled by booze and drugs, he and his friends decided to teach a younger acquaintance a lesson for being annoying. What started as a plan for a beating turned into something much worse. They lured the kid out to the middle of nowhere, beat him senseless, and left him for dead. The worst part? Our narrator doesn't even know if the kid survived. He remembers the sound of the guy's labored breathing as they propped him up against a tree and left him there. Years later, now sober, the guilt is eating him alive. He's haunted by nightmares, torn between confessing to save his sanity and staying quiet to protect his family. He's trapped in a prison of his own making, all because of one night of drug-fueled stupidity. This story's a grim reminder of how substance abuse can warp our judgment and lead to unthinkable acts. It's a cautionary tale that'll stick with you long after you hear it. Story 5: The Phantom Town. Our final tale takes us to a dusty highway in the American Southwest. Our narrator is a long-haul trucker, used to lonely nights and strange sights. But nothing could prepare him for what he encountered on Route 50 in Nevada. It's around 2 a.m., and our trucker is fighting to stay awake. Suddenly, he sees lights in the distance. A town not marked on any of his maps. Curious and in need of coffee, he decides to stop. The town seems normal enough at first. There's a diner, a gas station, even a small motel. But something's off. The people move a little too slowly, their smiles a little too wide. And nobody seems to blink. Ever. Our trucker tries to shake off the creepy vibes and heads into the diner for some coffee. The waitress is friendly, but her movements are jerky, almost robotic. And when she pours his coffee, it's black as tar and smells like motor oil. That's when he notices the calendar on the wall. It's from 1952. And it hasn't been flipped in 70 years. Panic sets in. Our trucker bolts for the door, only to find the whole town has changed. The buildings are decaying before his eyes, the people melting like wax figures. He runs for his truck, tires squealing as he peels out of town. In his rearview mirror, he watches the town fade away into the darkness. By the time he reaches the next real town and tells his story to the local sheriff, there's no trace of the phantom town on Route 50. No records, no ruins, nothing. To this day, our trucker avoids that stretch of highway. And he always makes sure to fill up his thermos before long night drives. So there you have it, 5 tales from the middle of nowhere that'll make you think twice about your next road trip. If these stories gave you goosebumps, hit that like button and subscribe for more spectral adventures.